How's everyone doing? Do you guys want to copy it again?
It's hopefully going to be like 45 minutes. Okay.
There you go. This one looks. My bad.
That one is?
That one.
Cool.
Like to call to order the meeting of Morristown Township Public School District. The meeting has been publicized as noticed in the Courier Post on June 30th, 2023, and as noticed in Burlington County Times on June 30th, 2023. I'd like to start with a moment of silence, please. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Would Ms. Barnes, Dr. Myatt, and Mr. Weeks join me up front for the oaths?
If family wants to move for picture, feel free. Absolutely. Absolutely. We're happy to rearrange the lighting.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and this state under the authority of the people. So help me God. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of member of the Board of Education, am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19:4-1.
And not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19:4-1.
And not disqualified due to a conviction of a crime
And not disqualified due to a conviction of crime
or offense listed in NJSA 18A:12-1.
or offense listed in NJSA 18A:12-1.
And that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
And I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
perform all the duties of that office according to the best of my ability.
perform all the duties of that office according to the best of my ability.
So help me God. Congratulations. Great job on the statute references. Very nice. For our incumbent board members and our new board member, there are oaths of office in front of you. You just sign those and pass those in to me by the end of the meeting. All right, first item on the agenda, we're going to go through a roll call. Mrs. Arcara Burns.
Present.
Mrs. Jacqueline Barnes.
Here.
Mrs. Fowles Macaluso.
Here.
Dr. Myatt.
Here.
Mrs. McCopolis.
Here.
Mrs. Miller. Mrs. Morano. Mr. Weeks, Mr. Villanueva.
Here.
Thank you. The first thing that we are going to do is the organization of our Board of Education. So pursuant to policy 0152, the voting will be by verbal roll call after all nominations are closed. When we have more than one person being nominated, the board will vote on the candidates in the order in which they were nominated. So at this point in time, I'm going to open the floor for nominations for board president. Absolutely. That one had
Everyone-
batteries potentially.
All
It's
right.
next year's that Apple enabled him to do that.
Yes. Okay, so dispensing with the suspense, I would like to nominate Mark Villanueva for president of our board. Mark has performed the functions of the office of president in exceptional fashion, and I think he's been a good, steadfast leader for the board, and I would like to see him continue for another year.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Weeks. So just to clarify, we don't need seconds on nominations, but thank you. I got that. Was your mic on though?
Would you like to third it?
I would.
At this point in time, do we have any other nominations for board president? Hearing none, when I state your name, please provide your vote. Ms. Arcara Burns,
Yes.
Mrs. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Fowles Macaluso, Dr. Maya,
Yes.
Mrs. McCopolis,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Morano, Mr. Villanueva,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks.
Yes.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Before turning the floor over to the board president, I'd like to open the floor for board vice president nominations.
I'd like to nominate Cheryl McCopolis. Now I have
Second.
nothing else to say for once.
Second.
Any other nominations for board vice president? Hearing none, when I state your name, please let me know your vote. Ms. Arcara Burns,
Yes.
Mrs. Barnes?
Yes.
Mrs. Fowles Macaluso? Dr. Myatt?
Yes.
Mrs. McCopolis?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Morano? Mr. Villanueva?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Thank you. Congratulations. At this point in time, I'll turn the floor over to our board president.
Great. Thank you, James, and thank you, Mick, for your kind words. Very much appreciate it. I look forward to serving in this role for another year. I do think that we have a very strong board with very helpful, strong, and steadfast opinions that don't always align, that sometimes lead to lively debate, both inside and outside of our committee meetings, but I think that is healthy. I think we have a lot to learn from each other, and I look forward to seeing us continue in that process this year. And while we may all have different perspectives on things, I'm confident that everybody up here has a common goal to do what's right for the students, for the kids and the young adults that are in the hallways of the Morristown schools. And so thank you again for the vote of support. And I really do look forward to working with everybody this year, because there is a lot to do. So thank you. At this point, we will open the floor for public comment on agenda items. And this section opens up the floor for any comments that the public would like to make on items that are on the agenda. The ground rules are set forth in the agenda itself. So if anybody would like to make a public comment, now is the time. And prior to making your comment, if you just please state your name and address, that would be great. Oh, okay. So you want to do both? Okay. For purposes of efficiency, we'll do it for both agenda items and non-agenda items at this point. And thank you, Jill, for reminding me that we need a motion. Can I get a motion to open public comment, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so if anybody has a public comment on anything on or off the agenda, now's the time. Okey-doke. Seeing no one approaching the microphone, may I get a motion to close public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next up in our agenda are the appointments effective January 2nd, 2024 through the next board reorganization meeting, which is item D in the agenda. May I please, well, let me pause there for a moment. There is an amendment that was passed out to the board on a separate sheet of paper that includes the appointment of a Title IX coordinator. That will be item 8. So may I please get an approval for items 1 through 8 in the section D of the agenda? Any comments or questions? All in favor? Any noes or abstentions? Thank you. Next, up on our agenda is the routine matters for reorganization, which includes our newspaper, the depositories, bank signatories, and the other items listed in the agenda. May I please get a motion for the approval of items 1 through 12 as set forth in letter E of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor? Thank you. Item F, the New Jersey School Board Member Code of Ethics. Everybody should have a copy of the code in front of them. And if you haven't yet already, please sign, date it, and get it back to James this evening if possible. May I please get a motion for the approval of item F in the agenda? Any comments or questions? All in favor? Any noes or abstentions? Thank you. Letter G is the establishment of petty cash funds. May I please get a motion for approval of that item? Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes or abstentions? Thank you. Next on our agenda includes professional services. So these include our architect of record, which will be new this year, our auditor, our legal counsel, Mr. Comegno and his law firm, our insurance broker of record, and bond counsel. May I please get a motion for approval of items 1 through 5? Second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Any noes or abstentions? Thank you. We then have the separate item for employee relations, which includes the appointment of support staff in Roman numeral 7 of the addendum to the agenda. May I please get a motion for approval of that item? Any comments or questions? All right, this is subject to a roll call vote.
Mrs. Arcaro Burns.
Yes.
Mrs. Barnes. Mrs. Fowles Macaluso.
Yeah.
Dr. Myatt. Mrs. McCopolis.
Yeah.
Mrs. Miller. Mrs. Morano. Mr. Weeks.
Yes.
Mr. Villanueva.
Yes.
Thank you.
And it's not here in the agenda, but is there anything for the good of the order? No? Okay, may I get a motion for adjournment? Second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Happy New Year, everybody.
Board members, I think we might have a photo. So.